I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work, the Gundungurra land and people. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which you, our listeners, are joining us from today. I recognise the deep connection that First Nations people have to this land, their enduring culture, and their commitment to the preservation and care for their country. This land was never ceded, and it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hey there, and welcome to Beyond the Surface, the podcast where we explore the stories of people who have survived religious trauma, left high control or cult communities, and are deconstructing their faith. This is Beyond the Surface. Welcome, Fiona. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We quickly just started to talk and I needed to hit record because otherwise we were going to get too much good stuff not recorded. So you are obviously here to chat about your journey through the church and out of the church. I tend to say loving and leaving the church synonymously, because I tend to think that people who were really hardcore into church or into their faith tend to have a really hardcore out of church experience, and it's really heavy.
Pretty much. Yeah. And that's also a very nice way of putting it. My journey. I was thinking, as you were saying that, I was like, you mean my trauma? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think in the little bio that I sort of wrote about this podcast when I was reaching out to people, I was like, it's essentially those invisible threads that connected us all, which of religious trauma, essentially. It's, it's the club that nobody ever wanted to be a part of, that we didn't sign up for.
Yeah, it shows us.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned did you grow up in a Pentecostal church, or was your family religious?
Yeah. So I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My parents met in church, and we have pretty much always been in some sort of Pentecostal church.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was normal church.
Yeah.
And it is for a lot of people, but yeah, I had no clue about other types of even just Christianity, you know. So all the running around the building and speaking in tongues and arms raised and crying and everything, spiritual laughter and stuff. It's all oh yeah, that just means you have more of God.
Just your typical Sunday.
Just a normal Sunday, but probably your friends at school won't understand, so don't bother telling them about it.
Fiona's using the word normal because I sort of off camera described when I went to a Pentecostal church similar to the one that she was a part of. I was it was like another universe for me, having sort of come from a conservative background. Well, yeah, I guess a relatively conservative church where, you didn't raise your hands in worship because that was making it about you. Yeah, it was, and people I remember when I sort of started branching out into, I guess, bigger mega church, particularly modern music, things like that. And you would very much sort of get shunned, stared at if you did anything that was not just standing, arms by your side, singing, facing the front. Do not move at all. So I can imagine that for people who have not been in that it would just be normal that, all of that sort of charismatic aspects to church was just your normal Sunday.
Yeah. And it's so weird that it was having not being a part of that church anymore, or any church of that denomination, you as a 31-year-old, you look around, you realize, so you mean the rest of the world and even the rest of Christianity thinks this
Yeah.
is weird. Like,
Yeah.
this, it is weird. Why? And it's just weird that I think it was normal. And it's weird that I think it's weird now, because I mean, it just goes to show, when you're brought up, um, like as a child, you don't have a choice. Like, you don't get to choose what is your normal, or what you want to believe. You are just shaped by those decisions of like the people around you. And I think one of the hardest things for me to, I guess there's just been like points of grief along the way, because I haven't had a particularly traumatic childhood. Like, I was never physically abused or anything, but one of the points of grief is realizing that so much of my childhood didn't have like consent, or being raised to have the ability to have informed consent, to know what I was saying yes to at all. It was just like, well, it's this or hell. So what do you want to choose, 8-year-old Fiona? Like, of course it's going to be whatever you tell me isn't hell.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, fear.
Yeah. And thinking to myself as a child, like, oh, this is obviously the right decision. And I feel so sorry for everybody else that wasn't raised this way, because they have no idea the truth. They're missing out, and they have no idea that they're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's literally child abuse.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever it's like, obviously, I've done stacks of trauma training, and, they talk about, different things that can cause childhood trauma, and, physical abuse, neglect, like, you name it, it's on there. Like, and not a single trauma training that I have ever attended has said religious indoctrination as possible form of causing childhood trauma. And it's like, oh, we're so missing the mark. Like, it's like that sort of like, you're so close, but so far.
But
Like,
because you can slap the word religion on it, it's like out of bounds for prosecution or the law.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I did not grow, my family are not religious. I'm like, I chose to get on this roller coaster at some point. This did not fall into my lap. And I remember, when I sort of was a bit older, and my mum was like, well, she wasn't doing drugs, so I figured it wasn't too bad. And I'm like, it does tend to be that alternative. Kids and teenagers go to youth group and things like that. And it's like, oh, well, they're not going out partying or drinking or doing drugs or sleeping around or being violent. And it's like,
totally.
No, but
but there's another bad thing happening.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
way less obvious.
Yeah, it's just much more passive, much more insidious. And most of the time, you have absolutely no realization of it until you're out.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
so much falls into place once you're out, because you're suddenly seeing things from a completely different perspective.
Yeah. Janja Lalich has a great analogy of like when one uncomfortable thing happens, you understand it, but then you can sweep it under the rug and you kind of store it on the shelf. And then another thing happens and it's not that big of a deal, so you put it on the shelf. And then eventually there's one thing, you go to put it on the shelf and the shelf breaks.
Yeah.
And when I heard that for the first time, I was like, that is exactly it. nothing's ever that bad. But when you've made your whole life centered around this thing that's just full of decisions that are not that bad,
Mm-hmm.
one day the shelf's gonna break. And
Yeah.
it did for me, and my whole world fell apart. And it's like, oh, I don't know where I was going with that, but what you were saying, it just kind of made me
Yeah.
remember that, like,
Yeah.
it doesn't, I don't know. What were you saying?
I, I was saying that you don't tend to notice it until you're out. And
Yeah.
it is a really great analogy for that,
Yeah.
because I often find that, in the clients that I've worked with and in other, friends that have left the church, you make excuses, essentially. That's
Really?
really what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
making excuses. And often, they're rooted in, I guess, the essence of, yeah, but they mean well.
But yeah, the intention
Yeah.
intended to hurt you. Okay,
Yeah.
you did hurt me though. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another analogy for you. One of
Yeah.
my
I love analogies. You ask any of my clients, I
very
live with
visual
them.
person. My one of the reasons I guess I left my church was because I put a boundary up with somebody who was very, I guess, like important to the church. And essentially I was like, I don't want to be friends with this person anymore. I don't want to have a relationship with this person. It's not healthy for me. And that was it. And I didn't communicate it like that because I didn't have any sort of skills.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
essentially I just cut this person off. And my pastor really sat me down a bunch of times. And she sat me down one time in particular and was like, I just need you to understand that what you're doing is really hurtful and it's not okay. And you need to forgive. And it was just this whole like I'm in the wrong thing from
Yeah.
not being friends with somebody who was not
Yeah.
healthy
Yeah.
for me. And yeah, the like when I went back over it in my head, I was like, right, but she doesn't treat me well.
Mhm.
Why do I have to continue? Oh, because Jesus forgave everybody. He forgave everyone. God
Yeah.
forgives everybody. So you can too, no matter what they do. And I'm
Mhm.
like, hey, but who said I didn't forgive her? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't say that. Did I
Yeah.
say no? I just don't want to speak to this person. I don't want to spend time with them. I don't want to hang out with them. Don't I
Yeah.
get to choose who my friends are? And yeah, I guess the way that I thought about it more is that like if you ran over my leg with your car because you don't look where you're going when you pull into the driveway or whatever, that would be like telling me that I wasn't allowed to move myself out of the way when you're driving the car.
Yeah.
You have to say, but she broke my leg last time, but
Yeah.
she might not this
Not
time.
next time.
In
Yeah.
the same spot. I'm like, no, she's really bad driver. I'm standing well,
Mhm.
well, well away because I don't trust her. And
Yeah.
that's just not good enough. It's like, well, so I just have to lay myself at her mercy for the rest of my life. That doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. It's so harmful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that level of like, I mean, it's victim blaming. That's essentially what it is. It's just blaming the victim.
Mm.
And good old fashioned spiritual bypassing of like let's not have the hard discussions. Let's just,
Mm.
your unforgiveness, as you were talking about what your pastor was saying, all I was thinking was I'm expecting you to say something like that what you're doing is grieving the heart of God and that sort of language, because it often will get put on us that what you're doing is hurting God. Do you want to hurt God? And
Well,
it's like, well, are you or are you not backing me into a corner where I either look like a person who can just be walked over and people can just treat me however they like, or a God hurting person? Like,
yeah. Well, it was less about me hurting God, but about me not listening to God. because
Right.
she said God had told her that
Oh,
I wasn't
yes.
allowed to stop being friends with this person. And then I said, that's really interesting. God hasn't told me that. And she said, okay, well, why don't you just go and pray about it for a week? This is on a Sunday. And I said, all right, I totally will. Like, as if I hadn't
Oh
been
my
praying about it for
God.
like 8 months, because this was
Yeah,
closest friendship.
exactly.
I was
Yeah.
like, great idea. I'll try that for the first time
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So I went.
The not so subtle underlying message there is just as bad as what's coming out of the mouth. Like,
So I prayed about it. Well, I didn't really pray about it because I was like,
yeah.
previous ones, they still count. So I
Yeah.
went back to next week. She was like, so what did God tell you? And I was like, yeah, I'm just not getting the same thing. God, like, I think I'm good. Like, God's good with me. We think we're good. And she was like, oh, really? Well, what I think sometimes we can think we're hearing from God, but we're actually just hearing what we want God to tell us. So
Oh, good
what
old-fashioned gaslighting. Yay.
amazing. We should have a little bingo card.
I
Um
know.
the
Oh.
so then she goes, all right, so what the way you can find out if you're really hearing from God is to get confirmation from somebody else. So go ask someone like a spiritual leader to ask God the same thing and see what they hear from God. And then she was like, and I think it should be this person who was
Yeah.
like number one puppet on a string to the pastor. So I was like, okay. I mean, I feel like the God's already pre-programmed her, if you know what I mean. So I was like, all right, oh yeah, cool. I'll definitely ask somebody um to pray about it and get another opinion. Cool. And so I go away that week and I ask one of my closest, like older female friends, like she's like a big sister to me. I asked another friend who was like my young adults leader from a few years ago. And then I asked another pastor who actually has a very close relationship with my pastors. So I kind of knew it would be valid,
Yeah.
their opinion. So I asked all three of them, and all three of them were pretty much like, we don't even need to pray, Fiona. That's psycho. Like, as if you are, oh yeah, that's the thing, that's what she was saying. God told her I was unkind because I wasn't being this person's friend. And so I was like, so, okay, just can you pray about this? Do you think I'm being unkind by not being friends with this person? And they all came back to me and they were like, absolutely not. You're one of the kindest people we know. That's ridiculous. And God's not telling us that. And so I was like, thank you. 3 for 3. I go back to church the next Sunday and I'm there early because obviously I serve on production. And she comes up to me 8 a.m. First thing she does, walks into the door, straight to the sound desk. So Fiona, did you ask this person to pray for you? And I'm like, no, but I did ask 3 people that I really trust and like hear from God too. So, and she's like, okay, great. And what did they say? And I was like, they, yeah, they're not getting what you're getting. And she was like, oh, that is so great that you went and did that. Like, that's why you're so great, because you really followed through with the whole process. That's
Oh,
amazing. And then she didn't even like say, have a great day or whatever. She literally just turned on the spot and walked away. I was like, oh, I guess we're done here then.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was only part of the hoops that I had to jump through. But
Yeah.
I
And
tried to
like you
do
were really
everything.
jumping through those hoops.
I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't in the wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I really wanted to do the right thing. And I really wanted to be able to have healthy relationships and be able to
Yeah.
have boundaries. Like, if this is not a church where I can have healthy boundaries for myself, what am
Mm.
I doing here?
And I think one of the biggest things that I like I hear in that is just the insane notion to keep instilling in people to not trust your own gut instinct.
Oh,
Like,
You're
is
beautiful though.
like,
Why would your gut ever tell you the right thing?
I know. And it's just, it repeatedly gets brought up. And it's why so many people, when they leave the church or deconstruct their faith, is that inability to trust yourself, to even, there's no
Totally.
internal compass because your compass was external. And so, like, it is, it just makes it so difficult for people to have healthy boundaries, like you said, but also a healthy relationship with your own internal compass.
100%. I think,
Yeah.
and that's one of those things that you grow up thinking is normal too, like not having
Yeah.
that because you're so like taught to almost like disassociate from yourself. Like
I
my
mean, how
decision
many
making,
times did you hear die to self?
literally die, die, die.
Yeah.
And one of the things that woke me up a bit was um I was asking this other pastor who wasn't part of my church. I was like, well, what am I meant to do with my life? Like, what do I do? I don't think I was like, I don't want to be a pastor. And he looked at me and he was like, yeah, you're not a pastor. Like, go do something else. I was like,
Yeah.
am I allowed to? Like, what, like, am I allowed to have wants? Like, am I allowed to like have a career and go after things that I want and not just devote my whole life to the church? Is that all right? I thought I had to die to
Yeah.
myself and all my desires so that I could live for God. And he was
Mm-hmm.
just like, die? Like, he was like, why would you want to die? We
Yeah.
live. Like, he was like, why would you want to kill yourself? Like,
Yeah.
quote unquote, spiritually. Like, you're meant to, you have a personality and you have an identity and you were created and there's only one of you. Why are you trying to kill that? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, why are you the first pastor to tell me this?
Yeah.
I don't go to your church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
didn't.
mean, that's a minority sort
It
of
is.
notion, really. Like, it is
He's
very
very
much,
healthy. He's a very healthy
yeah.
person.
I mean, like, um, I like my church was very much like we couldn't even sing a worship song if it was more centered about us. Like,
My church was like that too. It
I
was
mean, like, uh, Fat Chance getting us to sing Hillsong music, like it was never ever going to happen because it was too me centered. It's not
yeah,
about worship is not about you.
no,
Worship is about God. Nothing is ever about you.
no.
And so it just makes that self-trust, that intuition, that gut
Mhm.
instinct, um,
I
don't
remember
develop it.
not at all. I remember
Yeah.
when I first left, and it was like the first time that I went to the gym, and the next day my body was just in pure agony. It was like I had never used this muscle of self
Yeah.
sort of determination before. Like every thought I needed to get approval for. Like
Yeah.
every want, like, should I do this? Should I go there? Like, um, I had to check. And I wasn't even conscious that I was doing it because it was so like preached that, we're all here together in community. You want to be under my spiritual covering, authority and whatever. That
Yeah.
like I've just didn't think I could make a decision at all. And I remember on multiple occasions talking to people that I trusted and being like, I feel, just like, because everyone around me is like getting married at freaking 19, um,
Mm.
and having kids and moving on and whatnot. And I'm just felt, I guess, kind of stuck and
Mm.
also didn't feel like I was hearing anything from God about like what I was meant to do. And so I was like, I feel like my life is a blank page and there's nothing written on it. And I don't know how to get anything on the page because what if it's the wrong thing? Like it's permanent ink. You can't rub it out. There's no white paper.
Yep.
And I just being too afraid to even
Mm.
be able to make a decision for myself
Yep.
is so sad. And people
It,
think
yeah.
when I tell people sometimes my story, like, yeah, I don't have that much like physical abuse or anything, but when you take away somebody's ability to make their own decisions for themselves, like, I'm never going to get my 20s back.
Yeah.
Ever. And that sucks.
Yeah,
Really.
absolutely.
And that's why I guess they don't think that they're doing anything harmful either,
Yeah.
but they don't know the cost
Mm-hmm.
of these like little, oh yeah, we just want to look out for you. That's why we say come under our spiritual covering or whatever. That's why we just want the best for you. No,
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
I mean, it's funny because like people would never dismiss um, an emotionally abusive relationship or coercive control or manipulation or anything like that.
Yeah,
But that's exactly what it is. You know,
100%.
it is indoctrination is a form of control. And particularly when it's children who don't have the ability yet up until a point to think critically about things. And then once they reach that age to be able to think critically, you are not advised and you are not encouraged to think critically. That's taken away from you. So, you know, by the time you reach that point, it's often it's too far gone because you know it's so instilled in you. Why would you think critically? Why would you think that anything was other than what it was?
Yeah. It's
There's just
the I forget whose book it is or which who to reference here, but there's that like cult, I think there's a cult book or something, and it's like one of the key things is like thought stopping techniques.
yeah,
And it's like you just don't think about it. Like just give it to God. What does that mean? Like what, like can you
yeah,
elaborate? Like no, you're not meant to elaborate. It's meant to stop
no,
there. That's the solution.
yeah,
Don't think too hard.
mm-hmm.
And it's, yeah, just such a shame because there's so much of people's lives being wasted.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, was that situation that you described with the pastor and the jumping through hoops and that whole palaver, was that sort of like the beginning of that process of leaving for you?
That was like the end.
Or was that the end? That was the pinnacle. That was the cherry on top.
Yeah, no, prior to that, I had like a mediation session,
Oh,
like
yikes.
couples
Yeah.
counseling with this friend and like a non-qualified counselor
Oh,
who
yeah. We
just
love that as a
loved
therapist. We love Christian
so
counselors.
yeah, never
Yeah.
practiced.
Pastoral
Yeah,
counseling.
literally. Ooh,
Not actually counseling, just for the record.
no, it's just triangulation.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I did that. I sat down with both of my pastors separately at a meeting that I instigated, set up
Mm,
so that I could talk to them about my church experience. And there was just more gaslighting. I got dropped by my pastor at the beginning of the year that I had after I left in about towards the end of the year. But at the beginning of the year, my pastor just stopped pastoring me. And she was like, I was closer to her than I was to my own mother.
mm,
And she was like my spiritual mom. And I definitely put her on that pedestal.
yeah.
And essentially at the beginning of the year, she just stopped pastoring me. Like didn't tell me why, didn't communicate, hey, I don't think it's appropriate for me to pastor you anymore. Just stop checking in, just stop seeing, would walk past me on a Sunday and say hi and like, hey, how are you? Kind of like casual chit chat. But that relationship was no longer. And when I expressed that to her, when I was deciding to leave, when I'd sat down with both my pastors, their husband wife couple, um, I said, I just can't understand why you all of a sudden stopped pastoring me and you didn't tell me. I had to find out through somebody else. I thought you just didn't know about what was going on with me because I had such a horrible year emotionally. um, I was like, I thought you just were unaware because I had never gone into detail to explain it to her. And one of my friends, who was another leader at the time, was like, yeah, sorry, Fiona, she definitely knows, and she's chosen somebody else to look after you spiritually. And it was like I had been outsourced, like a task on her list.
Yeah.
There was no like, oh yeah, I think this person's going to look after you now or whatever. It was just like, yeah, she knows everything. Like other people have told her what's happened, and she's decided it's inappropriate for her to be my pastor, and didn't bother to let me know.
My gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of like, aside from the, complete just treating you like a number, essentially, just, yeah, like aside from that, the grief over that relationship would have just been heartbreaking.
Yeah. I would say that the realization of that, what I thought was like almost a mother-daughter relationship,
Yeah.
realizing that I was just essentially being used for her own, I guess my usefulness had run out. Um, that realization, I think, was the thing that broke the shelf for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. There's it sort of it reminds me of, I'm gonna look it up because otherwise I will get it wrong. There was a quote that I shared, and I remember just thinking that it was just like the it just summed up what so many people experience coming out. And it was like, to be your real self is hard when you still sometimes grieve that the people you loved really just wanted you to be someone else.
Yeah.
And it just reeks of that. I just want you to fit a box. I don't want to have these conversations with you because they make me uncomfortable. This is not something I can handle. And so I just want to squash you back into the box that you were already in, and keep you there because that's easier for me. And it is purely just about keeping you in that cookie cutter mold, because if you look good, then they look good because they're the ones who are spiritually guiding you.
100%. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was the most agreeable, like
Yeah.
little church girl, aren't we all? Um, and in my family too, like with my mom, we're raised to like not talk back. Like
Mm.
my mom is from another culture too, like a islander culture, so it's very much like respect your elders,
Yep.
very Christian and very don't talk back,
Mm.
don't step out of line, you'll get smacked 100%. And so I really knew how to put on like being good, and I was very good at being good.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you question something, it's like, well,
Yes.
you're bad. Well, no,
Yeah.
I'm not bad. It's just a question. And if it
Yeah.
makes you uncomfortable, should we not even more ask the question then?
Yeah. Um, I noticed in the little bio thing that you wrote, when you booked, that you left during COVID.
Yeah. Yep.
That's recent. So this is
Yeah.
all very fresh for you.
It's pretty recent. Yeah. 2020.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people did. I
Yeah.
think COVID was a reset for a lot of people,
Yeah. COVID
a
did a
lot of different
lot.
things. Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
was working over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think being locked down in my house for 6 weeks was so nice. It
Mm.
was so great to wake up on a Sunday morning and know I didn't have to be anywhere. I didn't have to be around the people that were telling me that I didn't pray enough and that I didn't read my Bible enough, and that the reason my relationships were bad because I wasn't spiritual enough and I wasn't giving it to God enough. Like, and that wouldn't talk to me unless I was on a roster that they needed to be filled. And these are all people that I formerly thought were my family. So, and to go from that to literally the opposite was such a like um like what's the word for like turmoil? I feel like that's the only word I can think about.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
um, just
Emotionally tumultuous?
yeah, maybe
I don't
that.
know.
It was just the worst. Like
Yeah.
from Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Saturday, I would just be dreading more and more
Mm.
Sunday. And I would still go because I knew if I didn't, I would be seen as the bad guy. And it's like, no, I'm doing everything right, but
Mm.
I am the one with the most emotional cost here, and it's the most uncomfortable for me, and nobody gives a shit at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm allowed
No,
to
you can say whatever you like.
swear.
I just chuck a nice little explicit warning on it. Um, I mean, you just learn how to be in that environment. Like you just learn how to manage it. It's like a job almost. You just learn how to navigate it.
Worse, because at least with a
Like,
job you get paid.
yeah, exactly. And most of the time, at least you've chosen that. Like
Yeah.
you've got no fault of your own.
And you
But
have
for
like unions and stuff.
yeah, exactly. Whereas, I remember like if you chose not to go to church on Sunday, man, you better have a good excuse. Like, and I remember sometimes spending the whole week coming up with this elaborate scenario, putting like droplets of like hints here and there throughout the week so that I could not go on Sunday. Like, and I had this perfectly reasonable and adequate excuse to not go.
That's
And
really interesting because you said you weren't raised
no,
with a church going family. So who are
no.
these excuses to?
Yeah, I
Other
know.
people at church?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
they're not even your parents. Like for me, it would
No.
be like me trying to convince my parents, but
Yeah, no. It
wow.
wasn't my family. It was other like friends and other people at church. And yeah, I mean, I tended to fall into that. I would have described myself as a very black and white Christian. I was an all in,
Yeah.
like all or nothing, everything all at once, and it was like all consuming. And so even though I wasn't raised in it, I went hard. Um, like I will often say when I'm sort of sharing my story that I only did 3 years at a Catholic school, and I did year 4, 5, and 6 in at a Catholic school, and I in year 6, you know how they do like those voting things for like yearbooks and things like that, like most
Yeah.
likely to be such and such. Um, I was voted by my peers as most likely to become the first female pope, um,
That's
which
hilarious.
probably tells you a little something about my 11-year-old self. And so it's, yeah, you don't need to be raised in it, but I can just imagine, like, gosh, if I had been raised in it, it would have been a disaster. Um, But how did it impact your relationship with your family leaving church?
Pretty the ironic thing is that all of my relationships, except for one, with every member of my family, has gotten better since I've left church. Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
which is just like amazing. And the
Yep.
only person that it hasn't really gotten better with is a sibling who is still in the church.
Right.
The rest of my family, so yeah, I'm one of five. So my mum never really attended the church with
Mm.
us because um she got offended or whatever, had a problem with
Right.
them. But I didn't, and I had been going to youth, like
Mm.
that youth group as a teenager. So when I turned 18, I was like, I want to go to this church by myself. I'm 18, I can do what I want.
Yep.
So I stopped going to church with my family, started going there. Then eventually my brother started coming along as well. Then my other brother, and then my sister for a little bit. But then my sister was like, this is not for me. She was the youngest. She was like, I'm out. Good for her. I wish I had a brain like that. Um, and then my other two brothers, they stayed, and my dad stayed, came along as well. So just my two brothers and my dad. And then when I left, my dad kind of was like, yeah, it's not really my thing. I don't really like the way they treated you. I was like,
Yeah.
thanks for the solidarity. And he stopped kind of after
Yeah.
a while.
Good.
Much convincing. And then my other brother, he was like, yeah, these people don't really care about me. I'm out of here. But then so I've just got like, yeah, one brother who's very, I think he's just a kind person and a very nice person. And he is probably going has the same mindset that I would have had, in the way of, I don't want to do the wrong thing. And the wrong thing is to leave. So yeah, it's been a bit weird because all of my other relationships have gotten so much better with every other member of my family. But I'm like, there's not that ability to be fully open and communicative, I guess, with that relationship, which is a bit sad. But yeah, everyone else is really supportive, and like, thankfully. So because when I first left, I remember feeling so alone.
Mm.
And like my whole, because I wasn't close with my family,
Yeah.
like my whole support system, you were my whole world, and now you're gone. And
Yeah.
especially when you were saying earlier about uh trusting your gut and be having that relationship with your like intuition. I Because I didn't even have that. I was like, I literally have nothing, not
Yeah.
even my own self. I don't have anyone that I can
Yeah.
fully. And I remember crying, nonstop crying in front of this poor like GP. And she's like, I think she was
Yeah.
like some Russian lady who's like, why are you crying? Stop crying. And I'm like, oh my God, I need daddy to
Oh,
help me. Yeah, so thank goodness for actually the mental health care system in this country,
yeah.
because I would not have
Mm,
had anything for real if I didn't have the ability to go to a GP and
yeah.
to then go see a psychologist,
Yeah.
psychiatrist.
Yeah. I think it is, I think it's easy for people to think that it's just leaving church and it's as simple as that. And it's no different to quitting a job and going on to the next one, and it's so much more than that. It's so much more. Like there's so much grief. There's so much, I think, I don't actually remember who says it. But there's someone who wrote, one of the many books about religious trauma. I think it might have been, I'm going to not speculate. Anyway, somebody very wise said that it describes it as a shattering of the self. And
Yeah.
I think it is just like, it's such powerful imagery. Like if you think of a piece of glass just like shattering, it is, it doesn't just impact the glass, it impacts everything else around the glass. And so it is, I think it's just really incredible imagery to try and explain to someone what it is like to leave, because you're not leaving a building like that. Like it's just like church is often just, it's not a building. It is so much more than a building.
We're family here at this
Yeah. Yeah,
point.
family who gaslight and manipulate, but family
Yeah.
nonetheless. Um, and so, you're not leaving a building. It's not like moving house. For a lot of
Center of
people,
your
it was,
world.
yeah, it's your whole world. It's the core, it was your core belief system. It was your value system. It dictated every single other facet of your life. And so to actively remove yourself from that, or to be kicked out, in my case, that's fun. What else have you got? It is really easy to sit in that space, and it is a little bit like despair almost. Like, what am I supposed to do?
But I also think, going back to what you said earlier, that it is only this like life-shattering, self-shattering experience when you are the hardcore
Yeah.
up for it person.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing is that when you have this earth-shattering experience, then the people who are left at church, then they're like, well, I guess she must have not been that committed. She just didn't want to give it to God.
Maybe, she wasn't really a Christian,
Yeah.
Oh,
It doesn't,
as you started to say the
you knew
sentence, I knew
exactly what I was like.
exactly what you were going to say, and it's like my blood started boiling as you said it. And there was I don't know whether you know it, but it was do you know the Barlow Girls? They
Oh,
were like a
they're
Christian,
Christian
yeah,
girl group.
like girl group, yeah. And they had this song called "She Walked Away," and I remember it so vividly being like the song that like people would send to me, and they would be going, why are you walking away? Like, and it was that I was actively making this choice. I left church twice. I had this like
So much fun you did it twice.
yeah, I know. Why not? You would have thought that I would have been better at it the second time. I I had to just experience actively leaving and then being kicked out. So I was like, I'm a therapist. I need to know both sides of the story. But that even when you leave, it is still like put on you, like you're walking away. It's like we never did anything. We only loved you and wanted the best for you.
And I don't know if you saw this on one of my videos on social media or not, but I literally had that face-to-face conversation
Oh
with
yes.
an elder at my brother's wedding after I
Oh
had
yikes.
church. Yeah. So he came up to me and he was like, "So I heard you left the church." And I was like, you heard right, I guess.
Gosh, something coming in automatically with such hostility.
Just diving in. But he didn't come in like that. He was like, "Hey, how's it going? We love you. So I heard you
Yeah.
left the church." He niced it up a bit.
Yeah, okay.
But like I wasn't close with this man, because he was a married man, obviously. So what would we ever have to talk about one on
No.
one? Nothing. So yeah, he just came up, started talking. He's like, "I heard you left to go to that church in Sydney, because I live about an hour out of Sydney." So he's like, "I heard you left to go to that church in Sydney. They're a really great church, hey." And I'm like, yeah, really, really enjoying it, loving it. He's like, "But you can't really like be a part of that community because it's really far." I'm like, "Oh, well, I mean, guess not then." And he's like, "Yeah, like, are you really going to be involved? Like, how are you going to be a part of that church family kind of thing?" And I was full on disassociating at my brother's wedding, just like staring off into space, going into like freeze fawn
Freeze
mode.
mode, yeah.
Yeah, just like smiling. And then he's like, "Yeah, so, well, the thing is, Fiona, that God gives us challenges, and it's our opportunity. He gives us these opportunities to like go to the next level. And we can either take them or we can run from them." And I'm just like, uh-huh. And he's like, "Yeah. So like what the thing that you to grow, it makes us better people, blah blah blah." And then he's like,
Uh,
"But the thing is, Fiona, like God will give you another opportunity. It's fine. We love you." I was just like, like full on.
Why am I not wearing running shoes right now?
Literally, I was like, my brother's wedding. This is the moment you chose. Like,
My God. I mean, that in itself is the passive aggressive undertone of that is
the
just,
entitlement of like, yeah, I
yeah,
can say whatever I want at this family event. Like, who
yeah,
gives a shit? And then tried to keep it together, but I ended up going out to my car and having to cry.
yeah,
Because just like pretty much had a panic attack. I felt like
yeah,
like everyone from my church was my old church at this point was there, and I couldn't walk to the bar without somebody being there. I couldn't walk to the dance floor without somebody being there. I couldn't walk to the toilet. I had to like stay in my seat for the whole reception when everyone had like walked off, and I was just like trying to find space where I wouldn't
yeah,
run into anybody and I would be able to protect myself.
yeah.
And then the next day I cried the whole way driving to my day job on a Monday, and then I had to leave work early because I couldn't stop crying at work. My boss was like, "Are you?" And I was like, "I have to go home, I think." She was like, "I think you should too, because you've been crying for 2 hours."
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I mean, and we laugh because if we don't laugh, we cry. Essentially, that's
Yeah.
essentially what's happening in this conversation. But it is, I
The
mean,
audacity.
it's just like, I mean, sometimes all I've got is it's just a lot. Like, so, of all of my therapy years and experience and knowledge, sometimes it is just a lot and it's just a little too much. But I mean, that situation would have been so overwhelming. Like,
Especially for somebody who didn't have any relational tools, emotional
yeah,
tools, like nothing.
yeah,
I feel like I've learned so much in the past 3 years about just what
mm,
healthy relationships look like. And I
yeah,
wasn't getting that at church at all, because it didn't matter what healthy relationships look like. It only mattered if you were agreeable, if you said
mm,
yes, and if you were
yeah,
happy.
yeah,
If you were unhappy, it's because you had undealt with stuff. You
yeah.
had
It's
unforgiveness
your
in your heart,
fault.
or you had a hardened heart or something.
Oh,
God couldn't do a work in you because you were resisting his
yeah,
spirit or whatever.
yeah,
It's always, something to make it your fault, and not just, hey, this relationship dynamic is not healthy, or
yeah,
hey, I didn't like the way you spoke to me. That's why I feel upset. Who knew that that was just a valid reason for being upset?
yeah,
Um, but it isn't when you're in a high control religion.
yeah, absolutely. What does your sense of spirituality look like now?
Oh, that's a good question. I It looks like a big question mark.
I like it.
And I think my journey, I guess, has been to give myself the permission to be okay with it looking like a question mark.
Yeah.
Because I used to be so, this is what everything looks like. These are the boxes that I've ticked, and that's how I know that I'm good, I
Yeah.
guess. And so now the initial reaction when I left was like, I need to figure it out now. I need to figure out what I want, what I believe, what is
Yeah.
true, what's not true, like untangle the indoctrination from even just a biblical Christianity.
Yeah.
That was very muddled for me. Um, and I dove right into that. But I guess in learning all of that, I learned that there was so much mystery, so much unknown, so much that can't be verified.
Mm,
And that was kind of really comforting,
mm,
because it was like, you don't have to commit to anything the way you committed to that thing that hurt you so bad
yeah.
anymore. You can have a big question mark over
Mm,
spirituality, Christianity, God, the Bible, and it's okay.
mm,
God's not flipping out in heaven
mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you have a question. He probably prefers that I have a question than I just listen to another human being who
Yeah.
like nobody's allowed to say no to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, I'm cool with like God and the idea of like God being the thing that created the world and God being like the source of love. I think I'm cool with that. But and I'm very skeptical about like the Bible, not in the sense that it can be a tool used to help people.
Yeah.
That has wisdom in it, proverbs and stuff like that, or even just any story like as an allegory, or even some literal stuff is like good, like don't murder people, whatever. um like
Yeah. Do not
I'm not
murder.
like I'm not like rushing to throw out the Bible,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely not like reading the Bible every day for my spiritual well-being, because it's like, okay, we just need to take it. It's okay to take it with a grain of salt. It's okay for the Bible, Adam and Eve, to just be a story. It's okay
Yeah.
for Noah's Ark to just be a story. Like, yeah, the world's not going to collapse. Jesus is not going to smite you if you just want to love your neighbor. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I love that. I think I tend to agree in that I actually love your Instagram name. If you have no idea what we're talking about, Fiona's Instagram is fabulous, and very funny and very witty. And it is just curious. And I love that, because I think what I have gotten throughout sort of the process of leaving faith, leaving church, leaving that environment, is a sense of curiosity about the world and about people and about me, and to just be okay with being curious about the world. And so I think that's what you get stripped away from you, because obviously, God forbid, you think and ask a question and speak. It is just that gets stripped away. And so I think, even just to be able to say I don't know to something is powerful in itself, when you are taught to always have an answer for your faith, to always be able to defend the gospel. And so to be able to just say I don't know,
Biggest green flag ever.
yeah, absolutely.
I will never ever trust anyone that believes that they have all the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. I often will say I'm not anti-God, I'm not pro-God, I'm somewhere in the middle, but what I am anti is organized religion and fundamentalism, because that's where the harm is done. And so I just think, I'm just loving hearing where people's sense of spirituality has taken them, because everyone lands in a really different space. And I think that that's the beauty of, that comes out of, I hate, that sort of everything has a silver lining crap.
Me
But
too. That's overrated.
it's rubbish, and it just bypasses the hard conversations. But it doesn't mean that we can't get beauty out of something that was incredibly painful, or traumatic. I am ending all of these episodes by asking you, what would you say to somebody who has just made the decision to leave, or is in the depths of that pain and grief? What would you say to them?
I would say this is probably the worst you've ever felt right now, but in a little while, it's going to be the best you've ever felt. Like, life is so good. It's so good. It's so much better than my life has changed so much for the better. Every like day living experience, like, it's like I don't have this sense of dread anymore. I have the freedom. I have the ability to make my own decisions. I have like personal autonomy. I get to decide what I like and dislike. I can enjoy like flipping watching all the Twilight movies in one day if I want to. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
no more guilt. I don't have
Yeah.
any guilt anymore. I don't have any shame. I like myself. Being able to like myself is so nice. So if that's you, like, and you are experiencing anything like what I experienced, it's gonna get so much better. Write it out, get the right people around you. I'm very excited for you, even though you're probably crying.
But just know that we are metaphorically crying with you, because we have shed those tears. Sometimes I still shed those tears because, yes, it gets better, but that pain doesn't magically disappear. It doesn't just go away. And so we are there with you in spirit.
You did not want to say spirit, just
didn't.
we are with you in podcast.
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
I said we are with you in podcast.
Yes. Amazing. I love that. It gets better. I think that's a beautiful way to end it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been great. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Beyond the Surface. I hope you found today's conversation as insightful and inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit from these stories. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more content. I love connecting with all of you. Remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you're not alone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep moving forward. Take care.